Good morning, it's Thursday and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. I'm in this beautiful rhododendron garden again, and I've shared a video from here before, but today I'm going to try to make another effort to explain to you my understanding, or even inner standing you could call it, to share with you how powerful being in the presence of nature is, and that I would argue increasingly as time goes on. Let me stand up, I can do better when I'm moving, funnily enough, and increasingly as time goes on, each day by day, the knowledge that I'll speak for myself, that I am in the presence of God when I'm communing with nature. And how do I know that? It's simple. It is a very, very strong, almost surreal connection. It's a force. Call it a force of nature. When I'm sitting, I need to put this into the right words. When I'm sitting or standing or walking through nature, and I know all of you have felt this, but we don't attribute and equate that to, many don't equate that to God, because we're so bogged down with the notion and the belief system that it is only through religion and a certain way of praying that we can access God. Now, that's not me saying that one mustn't pray. Praying is important. But I pray here in nature. And it's fortunate that it's a good time of year, because you feel, I feel drawn to this place, not this particular place, but I feel drawn to nature. There's a love for nature. I'm living with light inside me. This is metaphorical, mystical, and literal as well, if you understand what I mean. And those that are living in darkness, if you think from a metaphorical perspective, they haven't recognized this power. Those that wake up at 9, 10, 11, 12 in the morning and still go out in the sun, it's not recognizing, because it's deep feeling from within that the sun wakes up and you feel drawn to be up. The sun is out and you feel drawn to be out in nature. It's a really positive, divine Pied Piper pull. Probably not the best way of describing it, because the Pied Piper wasn't very pleasant, but it's the right pull to source. I hope you understand what I'm saying, and that is why many people who are drawn to source and who don't have nature around them physically, it's very easy to get down. You feel low and miserable when there's no sun. Not always, but it's easy to get into that, because you're so drawn to the love for the divine. And we call it God. I was having a conversation with somebody that I met just a few days ago, and we were talking about certain Aramaic books. It was just so wonderful to meet somebody, again synchronistic, who is also keen on Aramaic. I mean, who is these days? It was just what a bizarre coincidence. And he was saying that if you go through Aramaic text, which I've started to do now, that there is no mention of the word God. That divine force in Aramaic is known as the Almighty. There's different words attributed to it that mean the Almighty. I'm not sure where God came in from, but the Almighty, the strong, the anointed. It's not relating to a person, it's relating to a force of nature, the mind behind the universe. The other thing that I was reading yesterday, I'm being drawn to read these things, is I've gone back to the work, I've mentioned him before, of Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, who's a systems scientist, and that's a very important word, systems scientist. And I was listening to something he put out, I think it's just a couple of days ago. He puts a lot of stuff out every day, but he's really working hard. And he's right, because this is also something that I know but also feel. And he was talking about the 3 types of intelligence that we have as humans. And he said there's that maternal instinct, which animals have, where you can sense danger, or you sense something is happening to your young and you run. It's just an internal instinct, right? So that's an animal instinct. It's a very raw instinct. And then he talked about so that's one type of intelligence. And then the second type of intelligence is the mechanical, which is the rational mind that we have, which is the left brain that we've got. And it's that mechanical intelligence, which is all kind of mainstream logic and reason, and how you do things, your mathematics, that kind of intelligence. And that is the intelligence that artificial AI simulates, which is what the system today here, the establishment, is trying to draw humanity to. Well, it's already done. They've done that quite successfully, but not with everyone, not with myself. And then there's that third type of intelligence, which relatively very few human beings are in touch with, which is what I often talk about, which is an inner tuition. And it's a communion with the divine, with that Almighty. It's a connection to Source, which comes from sitting in silence or meditating or quietly in your own prayer. It can't come from anywhere else. It can't come from a regime. It's how we used to live, and it reaches beyond the realm of rational reasoning. It's telepathic. There's no boundaries. You are at one with who you are from an inner intuition basis. It's more than just a gut feeling, and it happens all the time. Hello, where we meet individuals, or we think of someone or something and we see them. That's not, again, the whole meaning of the word coincidence. It is a coincidence. So these things are synchronistic, and it's not magic. It's not attributed to witches or anything like that. That's been what we have been bred to believe. It's by nature who we are. And if you can connect to that source, one person connecting to that source is so powerful that it can move millions, and it can change the world from what's going on today in a heartbeat. But the other thing that Dr. Shiva said, because he's not talking about spirituality, so to speak, what he's saying is that when you live from your inner intuition, you're compelled to do what's right. So he has this movement called Truth, Freedom, Health, which isn't about truth, freedom, the words. You'd have to go and do your own research on him. And he's got this, in the US, this ground movement for working people to understand, to educate them how to think like a scientist and like an engineer. Science as in science linked to the laws of nature, to God, not the nonsense we've been taught, which isn't science at all. And the movement is growing. I mean, there are millions in that movement, but of course he's censored everywhere, so you wouldn't know. It's also abroad, and I'm getting involved in it. I'm going to find out where it is in the UK. I started looking at his work in 2020 and completed his systems biology course, but there are various other courses, and we're talking about an MIT 4 degrees scientist. He's smart, and he's giving this to the general public to be able to use. There's so many things that have happened since then. I've started to realise how many establishment people, and the not so obvious establishment as he calls them, are copying him, trying to pull people away from that truth and that freedom and their own health. Oh gosh. I'll put more details down below, but for now, please run to a nature environment and just sit down quietly and in silence. Call it meditation, but just do that and see what happens. Feel what happens. It's life-changing, and it puts you in a very powerful position of internal power. You do not need any validation from an external source, and you will make the right choices in life, which will not stem from ego, or you'll even let go of materialism. You don't want it anymore. You just want to free yourself of all of that. If you get to that stage, that's when you're helping to free the world. That's the way to do it. We are not helpless. That's learned helplessness that we've been poisoned with through social media and other media. It's quite the opposite that's true. Have a lovely day.